the Minister of Defense, Reggie White.
Yeah.
He came from the interior because quarterbacks can slide up in the pocket if you come from the edges. And the offensive linemen are known to push you past. But in that Super Bowl, the big dude, Williams, every time Pat meant to step up, Williams had either was in his face or the offensive lineman that was blocking him was in his face. That's what Reggie did. That same thing Chris Jones does. That same thing that what was the man Eric Donald saw him last night on talking to a little kid at the combine. But when you have where a quarterback can't step up, that's when your guys from the edge get home. When the quarterback can't step up and they can't do the things they want to do, you begin to make them look around. So if we can get it from in the interior, that work. Because now if you're getting it from the interior, you make the guys on the outside edges look better.
Well, and you just need guys that can win one-on-one because if you're a good defensive coordinator, you're going to find ways, which I believe they have, right, with Dan Quinn and Joe Wood Jr., they're going to find ways to get their studs one-on-one. And then it's onto those guys to win the one-on-one matchups. And I think you can find ways to do that. If Johnny Newton can take the step that I think a lot of people expected him to take in the second half of the season. He didn't get a preseason to work on things. So now that he's got a full off season, get ready to go with a preseason and training camp and everything, hopefully he takes a step. Whichever one of Daron Payne or John Allen, or if they're both back, whatever, gets some impact there. If you can find an edge rusher who can at least set an edge in the run game and play disciplined football and occasionally win one-on-one and get around the edge there. So, I think that's a big question for me. But we'll go back to your question because this was the number one question brought up by Zach Selby. What's the next step for Jaden Daniels? And I think you bring up a good point about the offensive line, BMItch, because one of the things that I liked about drafting Jaden, and look, you guys have brought it up plenty of times. JP always loves to bring it up. I was a Drake May guy. I was wrong. I'm glad that they went with Jaden Daniels. One of the reasons that I like that you went with Jaden and you're able to work the offense now is it seems like you can win in however you need to attack a defense. If you need to run the quarterback and the read option or run some option plays, you can do that. If you need to sit back there and run RPOs all game, you can do that. If you need to run a drop back pass game, he can do that. And so I think if you can give him an offensive line where if Cliff gets into a game where he says, we're just going to have to drop back 35 times and we're going to have Jaden make the decisions, you need to have an offensive line that allows him to stand in the pocket and do that.
I totally agree with you. And it all starts with the O-line because we looked last year, and let's be real. There were games when they were good. There were games when they didn't look as effective as they should be. When they got injured a little bit, we began to see about our depth and things of that nature. And let's be real. You can win a Super Bowl, your team still changes. So you have to improve to try to get – and you're competing. We're competing against the Super Bowl champs who are in our division, okay? Not like we going to see them play in the Super Bowl. We got to play them twice. If we're going to get to the Super Bowl, we probably got to beat them.
Yeah.
Okay? So I think the ultimate thing is having that O-line that can – I watch football in these days where it's 4th and inches, and I see somebody in shotgun, it runs me crazy, okay? If you can't block to get an inch or 5 inches or a yard, that's a problem. You got if they get an O-line that is effective pass protecting because Jaden can extend more time, but they better be able to block 1 yard. I love that we went for a lot of our 4th downs last year. It showed a lot, and it made the offensive lineman understand your coach has a belief in you to where you're going to be okay. But when it's 4th and inches, we should be able to line up and get against any defense, no matter who the hell they are. And that's going to take some bigger, more athletic guys, point blank.
Well, and if you want him to take that next step, I mean, this year he played at a top 5 level, right? He played as a top 5 quarterback this season. And so I don't even know that I'm worried about next step. Replicate what you did at the end of this season. That's good enough. Like the way that he played at the end of this season was MVP caliber. I need him to improve year after year, right?
But you know what I don't want to see, Toby? For every fan out there, I don't want every game to come down to the last play.
That's so true. That's so true.
We're going to have the cardiovascular units overflowing around here. How about that poise that they showed at the end of the season? It's not a question. This is something I'm hoping for. The poise that they showed defensively, because let's be real. in multiple games, our defense had to go get the ball back for us.
Yeah.
And then the offense had the chance to go do their job. So the poise that they showed, the resolve that they showed late in games, let's show that a little bit more. First half in the game to where you don't have to worry about it till then, but we know they're capable. Blow some people out there once in a while.
Yeah, please.
And they did that a few times last year.
Well, but against a good team,
you went down the stretch
right?
6 in a row.
Yeah, against the team that is above 500 or a potential playoff team, blow the doors off of them. Which, I think maybe Arizona was kind of in that mix before, around that time frame, and at the end of the year, they're kind of right there around that 500 mark. Maybe you want to throw them, but yeah, like down the stretch, every game was won on the last play. Yeah. You don't want that every time.
And it's remarkable. It builds for a great story.
Well,
but you know what? Sitting in the stadium, I wish I could have had a monitor on me to let me know about my heart rate and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
I guarantee it got up to 160, 170, and then it would calm back down because you go through those emotional things. And I am so happy. I know he has that gene, that clutch gene. And he didn't have it by himself. He had guys making the right plays for him. But how about being able to tap into that for a longer period of time?
Yeah.
And if you tap into it for a longer period of time, you'll be amazed at what you can accomplish.
Well, and this to me is how you can go from being a good team to a great team is when you look at the top quarterbacks in this league. When it's Mahomes, you look at Josh Allen, you look at some of these guys, their teams help them out so that they don't have to pull their cape out and be Superman for all 60 minutes.
Yeah.
They need that for specific plays throughout the game. You never know when it's going to pop up. And Jaden has that ability. The problem is Jaden had to be Superman a little bit too much. And so you talk about improving the O-line. I think if you can improve the O-line to help him in pass pro, that's obviously huge. But if you can get a run game that actually works, this is part of the reason the second half was so hard last year in terms of the season was because everything was on Jaden. The run game included was all on Jaden. And so if you can actually get a run game where they can turn around and hand it to Brian Robinson and not every play is, hey, 5, go make a play, or whoever's going to be the running back, make it so that Jaden doesn't have to do everything. And I think you'll be able to replicate some of this stuff because last year was tough when you get down the stretch. Cliff couldn't even look at the run call sheet. Like he was just looking at, all right, well, let's see how we can let Jaden do this. And everything was Jaden.
We talked about multiple things, and I think that all those things we discussed has one answer. Improvement on the offensive line. Improvement means it could be the same people becoming better or other people to make you better. But it's easy for everyone. Every time something happens, they point at the running back. That's the easiest thing in the world. But nothing happens without the O-line. I don't care. And let's be real. The most dependent, like quarterback is a great position. They can't do nothing by themselves. But it starts with the O-line. So that improving that, to me, answers the first question for me.